It's time for Who Watch, Time and Relative Blackness in Space.
Black girls have the box.
Hi everyone, it's Bayana, Connie, and Robin coming to you live from the Time Vortex.
Today we're discussing episode 8 of Doctor Who season 11, The Witchfinders. In this episode, the Doctor is tried as a witch, Yaz has maybe dealt with anxiety, and Ryan makes a new friend in King James I.
Mm-hmm. Understatement.
Understatement.
To say the least. So this episode, I think was of 2 ever solely written and directed by women, right? Mm-hmm. I think there was a third story, but there was like a male co-writer, and so it counts, but like
it doesn't count.
It doesn't really count. So, you know, Doctor Who making inclusion fronts on all fronts.
It's always weird to me because they've literally had forever to get.
But also, if you think about this is their third, like, it's not very special episode, but in a way it is. Yes. Because the first one, this is the third in the past. The first one they won in the past, they were like, let's have black people write it because there's Ryan. And then the second one, they were like, let's have South Asian people do it because it's Yaz. This time, let's have women do it because it's the Doctor. And then witches and whatever, which I think I honestly, like, I like this episode a lot, but like, as you said it, I don't know. Yep. I think as it was said out loud to me, as opposed to just reading it, it just like got in my head like, yo, they're like, let's get them for all in the past, as opposed to being like, hey, maybe when you go to Kerblam, you could have those written by people of color and or women, and then maybe it would make sense.
And women can also be people of color, which I know that you...
Well, that's why I said and or. Yeah,
I know, but I just want to...
Yes. Say
it again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For people in the back.
For everyone.
Also in
the back.
Both hands.
As you said, a very special episode. And in terms of it consistently being set in the past is something that I'd like them to move past. In terms of you can have a very special episode in the future, for instance, or in the present day. Like, you know, it's weird. It's a little weird to me. Or just
like not at all. It can also just be a regular
episode.
Right. But I mean, in terms of like, this is the first time the Doctor's like really dealt with being a woman, and it just happened to all be in the same context as like Ryan dealing with being black in the South in the past, and like with Yaz and things. And so like I feel like if you're going to address the Doctor, like address this issue of the Doctor being a woman, like I guess they were like, oh, if we wait till episode 8, it's not like too on the nose, but then like it's witches and it's the past, so it's still a bit on the nose. And I just kind of wish that there was a way for them to have included that a little bit more in other episodes where it wasn't like the central focus.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like they kind of did that, like in Rosa, you know,
Demons of Punjab, they did it.
Well,
that's all the past.
I was gonna say but also I was gonna say Arachnids in the UK.
Yeah,
like people like questioning her authority in the present. The future, I think you can get away with not doing it, depending on their particular beliefs and how the future looks or whatever. But I think that in terms of, I feel like the only reason I would say this particular episode is not a very special, like I know it's not, but I think it just follows a very similar like format, or like
I think because we've had 3 in a row.
because we've had 3 in the season, or we've had 2 like really really like clear ones this season, and that were like marketed as such. Right, and so like I think that, and not to say that it's not important, and also I think, like, I don't know. So for me, I really liked the Doctor being treated as a woman, and it not like it being like an actual hindrance to what she's trying to do, right? Like there are all these moments where she moves, like we see it, in earlier episodes where she moves as she would in any other situation and things work out, or like people might give her a double take or might question her a little bit more, but more or less she gets what she needs done. And in this situation, she is trying to do that, and it's not work. Like it starts to work at first, and then it kind of crumbles, and then she's like all of a sudden starting to realize like, yo, this actually is like how people live their lives all the time, and not just occasionally after 1,200 years.
Yeah.
And I think it was also interesting because at first it was like, well, this is inconvenient, and then she started to get,
it's dangerous.
Yeah, right. Because it was just like, he's so condescending, all this stuff. And then it was like, oh, no, like, this toxic patriarchal bullshit is dangerous. Like, I am more vulnerable as a woman than I've ever been. And I think that is something that they did well in Rosa that they didn't really do in Demons of Punjab, and I don't know if that's just because there wasn't like a spot for it, but I was thinking about how the Muslims and the Muslims and Hindus in that episode, the Muslims are women, and so the possibility of violence to them was a little bit stronger if you think of it in those terms, but we didn't see that. Like that wasn't a factor in that episode, where it's definitely a factor here, but also a little watered down because the main person perpetrating it is a woman, which was so 53%, which a lot of us were talking about.
Listen.
It was, I think it's important because it is like
very important. Yeah.
Women also participate in this structural, and they're active participants in it too. It's not just like they're innocent bystanders and we're all victims. Like, no, there are a lot of women that buy into those systems and like uphold them. But I don't know, it softened it a little bit for me because the doctor is so much more capable than this woman. You know what I mean? Like there was obviously danger there, but that she was so, and I loved it. Like they were so cartoonish, like Alan Cummings too as King James. They were all extra,
so extra,
but like they were so extra that like I didn't actually ever feel, and I guess we never really feel like the doctor's in danger because in the back of our head we're like,
it's the doctor. Yeah,
right.
I mean, I think that was one of the things about this episode is like, and I think I like tweeted this, like it was fun and also scary. Like I wouldn't show it to my sister because like the mud zombies, right? But like most of the time I never felt like I think it was scary and they did that well, but I also mostly just felt like, oh, we're just like running around. Like it's whatever, it's fun. You know what I mean? When the doctor's in danger, I'm kind of like, I mean, cool. I liked that moment because like when she tries to talk King James into letting her out, and it's like it's a monologue that like any other doctor I could like picture 11 doing it. Mm-hmm. Right. And then getting let out. And in this situation, it just like, he's like, nah, you're about to drown.
You talk pretty, that proves that you're a witch.
Right. Exactly. But then at the same time, Alan Cummings was doing the most, and it was really entertaining.
He showed up, and I was like, he's ready to ham it up.
He's ready. And then, like, even the end with, like, the alien, like, I was just, like, at that point, I was just like, I already know this is going to be, like, I'm not, like, it's weird to say there were no stakes, because that sounds like a bad thing, and, like, there were stakes. But
they were
like
low.
They were super, like, I think one of the things is that often, especially like recently in Doctor Who, like everything is a huge deal.
Yeah.
Because like this is very localized, and technically for the characters it's a big deal, right? They don't want to die and become like servants of the Morax or whatever. They don't want to be filled, which sounds really gross. So like but even that sounds ridiculous, right? Like it's just like really.
I laugh every time.
Fill my husband in you and like
fill King James with our Lord. Like, okay, nope, that's not.
Sounds gross. But like she said it multiple times, and so it just felt like I don't know, something about it felt, and I can't even think of an episode that's similar to this at this point because it just like something about it just made me like happy, even though I was like, this is so silly. Like it was silly. That's the word.
But silly sounds bad.
It sounds bad, but I think To me, it depends. Like, sometimes I'm like, that's silly, whatever. But this is like, that's silly, and it was delightful. Like, that's how I feel like it.
Sure, yes. I think it's because people who watch this show, I think 13 is silly, but they mean it in a negative way. And so I just wanted to make sure.
And I definitely don't mean it in a negative.
Yeah.
I definitely also mean like this particular episode, because I think that they've hit a lot of like more serious notes, and they've had episodes obviously with like high stakes. But I just liked having one where like I knew everything was going to be okay at the end, and they still did work.
I think that comes from it being the Doctor. Like, if Yaz would have been accused of being a witch, you might not know. You're like, oh, is this how they get rid of? Like, are they going to get rid of her? Are they going to bill her? You know what I mean? And like, because the Doctor is the one, it does this. You know, it's going to be okay. I think also like Alan Cummings, he's incredible, and so. Like, the thing that I was seeing a lot on Twitter when I, afterwards, were people just, like, loving his accent, because there were a lot of people that were, like, really annoyed because he's Scottish, and they're like, what is that accent? What is he doing? And people were like, he took what it would be to be this Scottish king who grew up in England, like, isolated, and super posh and, like, over the top, and then he was like, let me take that, and then turn it to 11.
13.
Right. And like he is one of my favorite actors in terms of like hi guys, I love British, all things British.
Really, that's crazy.
I had no idea. Wow. You should talk to us more about that.
You should have a podcast.
My personality.
You should have two podcasts that are only about British pop culture.
When he does camp, he does it so well, and he like his entire being. You can tell how much fun he's having. He like it's like in every movement, in every word, in every like flick and eye flutter. Like when he does camp, he's like the best.
He commits,
and I think because everyone else around him wasn't playing it wasn't a campy episode. Like he was just this campy like character.
Becca was a bit campy.
Was, yeah.
She was like the closest to his level, but everyone else wasn't camp. But she was like, Satan is here!
Yeah.
Like, girl, relax.
Because even when she got the makeup and shit, when she became an alien, like, her levels were on the same, here the same. Yeah. There was no escalation. No. She was on at least 10.
Yes.
But, like, Alan was on again, like, 13. So,
exactly. The levels match.
Yeah.
Levels match, yeah. And I just think that, like, that really helped it, again, like, the no stakes and things, but, like, just helped the fun of it, you know? Mm-hmm. So you never got too far away from this is silly. Like,
exactly.
You would get that, like, oh, and then, like, they'd cut to Alan, like, hamming it up, and you're like, this is silly. Like, is this what we're doing? Okay.
And then we just have to talk about it. This hat. This Witchfinders hat. And I feel like that helped with the elevation.
The gram of it all.
The silliness of it all. But yes, the gram of it all. And I just want to shout out Nicole. I just need to shout out Nicole. This will be one of many times we're going to shout out Nicole this week. But Nicole, girl, you killed me.
AKA Black TARDIS. Follow her.
At Black TARDIS. You said Pilgram hat. And I fell out in my home. And I love a pun. And you know, the Doctor loves, like, I know that if the Doctor had thought of Pilgram, she would have just
not let it go.
Delighted.
I will say, because I'm not afraid to, acknowledge nuance. We learned this last episode. I am appreciating Graham more as the season goes on. I still think that Gray should be here instead, but I think that, like, it's again, we've talked about, like, it's not like Nardole where you could just take him out and then nothing changes.
Yeah.
So I think that's important. And I think that in this particular episode, I think that it worked having him there, because instead of this woman or this white woman running in with these two people of color and that's it, and then nobody's listening to her, like, there is a white dude to be there to be like, oh yeah, I'm in charge, I guess. Sort of.
It's
kind of have a flat structure.
It's a flat level structure.
Yeah, like, he's like, I don't know, we just work together. We all have our own skills,
Ryan's
whatever.
in charge
Right?
of paperwork, even though paper is not really a thing.
Not really. But I think it helped in this particular episode. Like his white maleness actually like made a difference and like played an important role in this episode. And even as silly as this was, and like he's running around with a hat or whatever, the whole time until he gives it to the doctor. Like even the doctor, like again, it's real silly, but she's still learning things about like, and we've said this, like she is learning things that I think will then be taken into account in the future and moving forward.
When Raza Jaffrey's the doctor?
Sure. Well, I mean, I think they're going to have to do that one a little bit. That'll be a little... I mean, I think that there's still ways that they can go in terms of, like, being like, hey, don't forget you're a woman now, so the way that people perceive you and interact with you is going to be just different because, you know, sexism. I think they can continue to reinforce that, especially in the present, most likely. But I also just... I think that what I like is that, so, like, the Rosa episode was very much like, it was very heavy and it was good. And there were like comedic moments, but it was heavy. And like, it's the same with Demons of the Punjab. Like it was like relatively heavy. Yep. And in this situation, it was like, it was fun, but also hit, like it made the points that it needed to make.
Mm-hmm.
It's a distinct, subtle difference, a subtle yet distinct difference.
Yeah.
I think was, and they did it so well. And I'm so just like, it's episode 8, and I'm still so excited about Doctor Who.
Like, guys, remember last season, episode 8?
No, I don't.
We were so confused and upset and just confused. I feel like we didn't get upset yet, but we were over it and confused. And then upset came in 9 and 10, and I'm just... It's such a relief to feel so different.
We had 13 episodes last time.
True.
I think 9 and 10 were meh. No, 9 was still confusing, but 10 and 11 were like meh episodes. They were okay. I would rewatch them.
Definitely by episode 8 we were ready for the season 2.
Yes. And now I'm like, we only have 2 more episodes. That's garbage.
How dare they?
3-ish, if we count New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, which was the doctor's winter fit was just
literally just a scarf.
I know.
It was a cute scarf, but that's not a winter fit.
She has her coat on.
She has so many
that is a regular
already.
Ass. That she has her coat on. Connie, you were in New York. You know.
I know.
Don't try to play games.
I looked at that coat like, can I buy this and wear it every day? And then I was like, winter's coming. No.
Yeah. No. There's no way.
Fine, it's a fall coat.
Anyway. we get the squad teaming up or splitting up again.
Okay, which I was very concerned about Yaz being a woman, a brown woman in 1600s.
No one really noted that or said anything about that.
Like, maybe Ryan should go with you. Maybe Graham should go with you. Please don't go off by yourself.
Yeah,
and then she rolled up
make sure Willa's okay. I was like, this is not a good idea.
That felt like a miss. It felt like a miss, and especially felt like a red herring where like you think something's gonna happen and then literally she's fine and nothing really happens. Other than that, she sees the little mud tendril. I was gonna say though that like a kind of a theme, not really a theme, but like a thing that keeps popping up in the season, and then also is like in direct contrast to like New Who at the very least as we know it, is like the Doctor is all. Like, first of all, she's always saying, don't interfere. And they're like, yeah, we know. And then they interfere. Like, it's every time. And it's really funny.
Yaz said,
she interferes.
You have to help. Yaz was like, are we not going to help her? The doctor was like,
you're right.
That's my girl. You're right.
I mean,
but the last time they didn't interfere, in quotes, it also had to do with Yaz. So,
Thasmin, y'all.
Squad.
Hashtag
Squad.
But hashtag Thasmin.
But actually,
how did we go from razzmatazz to Thasmin? I mean,
I'm still very strong with razzmatazz, but I can't ignore the evidence in front of me.
Thasmatazz.
No.
Polyamory is the thing. Come on.
It is. That's not a good name. That's why I'm saying no. Go back to the drawing board for that.
Workshop it. I'll workshop it.
Yeah, that one's not working. But what I was going to say is that I also like that, like, oftentimes the companions just kind of wander off and the doctor's like, where the fuck did you go? Like, how am I supposed to keep you safe? And in this case, Yaz is like, I'm gonna go check on Willow. The doctor's like, cool, great, don't have too much
trust. She has a lot more trust in her companions, which kind of
fam.
And their flat team structure. So, but yeah, there's definitely more trust in her this season, which doubles down on my idea that she is a Hufflepuff. There's no real like fighting it, but like there's just continual evidence.
I also think that like women are better leaders, which we know. Like it's harder for us to get in leadership positions, but when we do, this is like proven by science. So at me if you want to, but I will at you back with like scientific shit about how women get shit done in a better and more cohesive way. Mm-hmm. Science.
And also, what else?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Focusing. I think it proves, one, that like women are better leaders, right? Like what I said, but also the fact that she was very open from the beginning. And so they're not piecing together these things while on a mission, right? Like the first time in the past is Rosa, and she is saying like, when they find out where they are, she's like, listen, like I can't keep you safe. Like this is dangerous. And also like we have to be very careful about the past. I think that carries on, you know what I mean? Like she's very much in, like it's not that she's saying this while all this shit is happening and it's in passing, and she like, even when it is like, let me break this down for you while we're in the middle of a crisis, she's looking them in the eye and being like, this is important. Like this isn't like, oh, by the way, don't wander off, or don't, I kind of remember in Father's Day, like the way he's like, it's important that you don't change the past, blah, 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 blah. But he's saying this while she's staring at her father. She's not listening to, you know what I mean? Like it's like when like someone's like giving you instructions about whatever while you're like, there's a present in front of your face. You're like, okay, yeah, let's go. Let me open this present. So I think that is also carried through in this season, is that she's been very communicative about the restraints and the dangers are traveling with her.
I mean, it also strips down the God complex that like that the doctor has been given. Like, I mean, literally Ten's run was him being God. Like when I love that gif when he like is hugging the master and he's like, I forgive you. It's like, it's so extra, but like and I think that it helps because it's like the doctor's like, I mean, I was reading something about Marvel earlier. So like their power set doesn't change. It's just the way that people see them, right? Like it's not like the doctor is still just as amazing and still gets the job done and you can still rely on her. But like Ryan and Yaz and Graham aren't just sitting around like, oh, don't worry, the doctor will save us once like they get into a bind, right? They're like, okay, I fucked up in this case, but like, let me figure out what to do. And like, if the doctor comes before that, great. If not, like, we're on our own. And so I think that
that we can just wait.
Right. And I think that also, if TARDIS forbid, one or more of them has like a tragic end, oftentimes then they feel like they've been let down or abandoned by the doctor, or like, they feel like they've let the doctor down, as opposed to just being like, oh, this was my, you know what I mean? Like, it just, like, that tie to the doctor is different, and that relationship is different. Like, I don't think Yaz is going to get sucked into another dimension and be like, I died. Like, you didn't die. Chill.
I was just thinking that. I was like, how do I bring in the time I died?
So I think that, I like, and I think, going back to when we were talking about, like, weeks and weeks and months ago about, calling them her friends instead of companions. Mm-hmm. I think that it is easier to call them her friends seeing the way that they interact with each other versus it just being like forced on us without any like change in like how they interact with each other.
See, that would have been
so I think they do a good job.
Much more preferable. But also, in relation to that and the doctor's sort of God complex idea, I also think 13 is less of a big mystery to them.
Yeah.
11 was this huge mystery to Amy, and she just wanted to know all the stuff about him and sort of looked at him with that God complex. Obviously, he has an entire episode named that, but I feel like there's less of this, like, mystery of, like, who are you? I need to know who you are, and I'm so intrigued as to who you are with 13, so, like, the companions are just like, oh, she's just, like, this cool girl. who just like
she's,
rolls around
like,
and helps us out.
weird.
And like she's weird, and like there's still a mystery to the Doctor, but it's not like the Doctor's being coy about her past. It's just like, oh, I'll tell you about that later.
Right.
Like, yeah,
so
I used to be a dude that one time.
Yeah.
And you're like, I still don't know what that means, but
like,
okay.
even with, 9, like, he didn't want to talk about the Time War, and so, like, anytime something like that came up, it was just like, let me clam up. And then, so Rose has no idea, really, who she's going with, and so that is also a distraction from being able to, like, be a friend or a proper companion and, like, know what you're doing in these dangerous situations, because there's this, like, mysterious figure. And the Doctor, 13 is just like, I'll tell y'all later. Like, I don't even know. Either she'll tell them later, or, like, she doesn't know yet, like, who she is. So she's very
right.
just,
or
like,
she's, like, told them off screen, too.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
I think that's also important. It's, like, it's not that important that we know, right? Like, they build because we already know. So they, like, build that trust off screen, and then you just kind of see it.
And I also think that it's one of those things, too, where it's, like, I can tell you these things. It's still going to be a mystery. Like I was a dude once. Like, okay, she said that. I don't know what that means in practice or in theory.
Right.
And so when something like this happened, like when, like, if they're around, knock on wood, I hope at least 2 of them are, when she regenerates, they're still gonna be like, what the fuck? Like, I mean, I know she said, but what the hell, And so I think,
as opposed to poor Bill, who didn't even get that as a offhand piece of knowledge, and then it happened.
I mean, she straight up asked about it, and then he didn't tell her. So
yeah.
So,
and
like, Rose was just like, I don't know who he is. Blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, girl.
I mean, honestly, but that was his fault.
That was his fault.
Like, it was annoying, and I was like, please, at this point, like, obviously he's sitting right there. You saw it happen.
But also, it's like, you saw it happen. You know who that is.
Shut up.
Like, if
With
he
your
didn't
whining
get kidnapped.
But also, like, he didn't tell her until literally right before it was about to happen. Granted, he thought he had more time, but, like, yeah. I mean,
but
and also the power of
that.
Right. Bloop, how are you going to be mad at him when you're the one who killed him? Let's talk about that. How about that?
Let's talk about that. The time he died.
Let's not.
Let's not. We did that already. But yeah, so I think that, like, Yaz going off on her own, bringing it all the way back. So Yaz going off on her own to go and see if Willa is okay is a, like, character consistency for her. Like, she's Robin was
a freaking therapist, or
she's just like a
counselor.
Yeah, she's like she's someone who really, like, genuinely cares about people, and when she sees that they're in trouble, like, we see it with Ryan the most often, obviously, because, like, they actually hang out or whatever. But, like, she has consistently gone to, like, check on people when it's clear they're not okay.
She's very proactive,
and so I think,
in that way.
Yeah, and, like,
and I think
empathetic.
We were saying that she's very active in who she is, and so that's why it was so hard at the beginning of the season to sort of understand who she is, because she wasn't telling us, she was showing us.
She was showing us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would have to rewatch it I feel like now I'd have to go back and rewatch it to see, like, those things earlier on.
Yeah, it was things where we didn't know what we were looking for.
Exactly.
And it's also, she's very subtle. Like, she's curious about people, but you can mistake that for her just being curious because she's in the past or the future or just a different, like, she's asking questions, but, like, of course she is. But her questions are more about the people and not just about, like, the situation, I guess.
She's very active and, like, shows us who she is, but also we did get a moment of her telling us this time. And I just really, really, really appreciated her story about oh no, I forgot the bully's name.
Oh, Izzy Flint.
Izzy Flint.
I know? She's on my list now.
I was about to say she's on the doctor's list. Too, to be honest. Yeah, I was like, the doctor's about to go back and, like, mess up Izzy Flint. Just, like, in a small, like, really inconsequential way, but in a way that the doctor knows is still going to change her life in a way that Izzy don't like, but isn't, like, actually harmful. Like, I just feel like Izzy needs to watch her back.
That or she's going to give her, like, a straight up talking to. Like, she's just going to, like, appear in her bedroom and pop out and be like, you better leave my girl Yaz alone, slam the door and disappear. That'll set her straight.
Just something's gonna happen. Izzy gotta watch her back.
Izzy gotta watch her back.
But, Riaz is talking to Willa, who's like, I feel terrible. I don't know what it is. And Yaz is like, I know what that is. That dread you feel every day. And I was like, I know what that is. And so I just really appreciated it. It wasn't like explicitly said that it was sort of like an anxiety, mental health thing, but as someone who has woken up feeling dread about going somewhere because of people who are yelling, it just felt really appreciative that they were talking about it, even in such a small way. I feel like they could have widened it a bit, but because like they kept it to that moment and then kind of moved on and was sort of like, just overcome your fear and it'll be fine. But I feel like there was still a level of like, hey, that's a thing that the show rarely talks about and is finally talking about.
I'm really mad because I completely missed it.
Really?
Because you guys talked about it. I just saw it as bullying. Like
well, it was the way that she
about that one person.
Nah, I think it was the way that she said it initially. It was broad, and then she like, to me, it felt like Yaz was saying this is a feeling that I've had for a long time, and it also didn't really seem like that his like the way that she kind of talked about it, it was like she distilled it to that moment as being the reason why she has it, but not that it stopped after she decided to stand up to Izzy. At least that's how I kind of interpreted it, is that that was where she realized that that's kind of where it came from, but not that it ever went away.
I didn't catch that. I just caught it as like that moment in time, and then everyone was talking about it afterwards, and I was like, I missed an anxiety reference.
I know. I was like, how did you miss it when like all of our brains, I think, thought of you? Like, it was like, were your ears burning? I don't know, because I was just like, I know that feeling. Oh man, can't wait for Robin to see this moment in the episode.
And it wasn't intent. I kept, and I wanted. It's one reason I'm really mad I didn't get to rewatch, because I was catching up, which is also really funny because there's a thread in our Slack for listeners that happens in real time, because Bayana and I can't watch in real time. I have to go back and watch it, but then the thread is like twice as long, and then I have to go back through it. But then I was like, I missed that. I didn't see it. So, but I did like what everyone else's thoughts about it. I really want to.
Yeah, I hope they do more with that, especially coming from Yaz, who does.
Me too. That's all I want.
But especially because she does seem so self-assured and self-confident and knows what she's doing, and to know that she is someone who suffers with this, who's dealing with this feeling, especially as a Muslim police officer. Like, girl, this is the profession you picked.
And I also think that it would be super great to show her like still being a badass and still being self-assured and all these things, but still also having it be both and not just like one or the other. I think would be.
There's not one way that kind of anxiety looks upon a person.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really important, because this is something that I was talking to someone else about when like everyone insists on calling me a Gryffindor, which is just false. Is that for me at least, like the only way that I can battle my anxiety is to just go blindly into the night. And I'm terrified the whole time, but like it's the only way that the alternative is paralysis. And so it does kind of make sense to me in a way that like that she would then become a Muslim police officer, because it's like the cure to, and like every professional therapist that I've seen has completely told me this all the time. It's like the only cure to anxiety is repetition of that thing that gives you anxiety, because that's how it like dampens.
No, thank you.
Yeah, right. Which is like, and I'm like, well, that's stupid. So make the drugs become the cure, and they're like, no,
that works.
I'm glad that she's getting more story and more space, especially because whoever said that each 3 episodes was going to be about a particular companion
clearly lied.
Clearly lied.
Where did we get that?
And I appreciate it.
I don't remember.
If it was like a thing we just decided based on.
No, I swear I read it somewhere, and I just can't remember where it was. So, check your sources and all that.
Yeah, verify. But, I mean, it has somewhat followed that, but towards the end of the season, it's been more equal, which I do I appreciate that more than, like, this being a big, like, pilgrim moment.
Yeah, me as well. I think that's also why I'm warming to him, because we don't have to sit here and like deal with him like crying over Grace for 3 episodes, and so it makes it's helpful. Because otherwise I could be like, otherwise I'd just be like, go away, bring Grace back, get out of my face. Yeah. And in this case, I'm like, he's cute with a hat.
Yeah. It's a style,
like grandpa cute,
Yes.
So can we get to the camp of it all, of this episode?
Sure. I feel like we did, but yes.
Well, I want to get specifically, we mentioned it, but I want to get specifically into Alan Cumming being amazing and flirting with Ryan.
Yeah.
Just like super good. That was hilarious.
Nubian King. I love it.
That
Prince
killed me. Same. Also, which I just realized. So this reminds me, I'm like the like weird like throwing away racism in the beginning. I love the Shakespeare Code.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And this reminded me.
But they were headed to Elizabeth's coronation, which I'm like, girl, why are you trying to take your crew to your ex's coronation?
Yeah, because she wouldn't recognize her. She's like, True. I have a new face.
True.
And she's never seen this face before. So I can just chill. But it reminded me of Shakespeare calling Martha like a blackamoor lady, Queen of Africa, like doing like the most.
Right.
And then him being like my Nubian prince. I was like, hold up.
Yeah.
Like, clutch my pearls. Like, yo, you went all the way in. Like, you didn't even attempt to like backtrack on. You didn't want to let up on the gas. That was all gas, no brakes. That's crazy.
This is another. But the one problem with that was like, it was such a great line that I immediately went to Wikipedia because I was like, it was King James.
I'm literally doing it right now because I forgot to do it yesterday.
At first I was like, what? I was like, no, I'm like, are they really, they're going
like,
here?
KJV,
and they kept doing it.
Right, well, because the thing that I knew the most about King James was the Bible.
Yeah.
He sponsored the Bible translation. But then I also remembered, because I watched...
Too much British television?
I watched a lot of British television, but no, I mean, I was trying to figure out. I watched, the first, 3 or 4, 2.5 seasons of The Tudors. And so, I remember Mary Queen of Scots, and I, was, trying to piece together, where, because he doesn't really play a big role in The Tudors. And I watch a lot of British television, but I also watch a lot of BBC documentaries and PBS documentaries, and a lot of those
80 years old. It's fine. Keep going.
Listen, I like myself some masterpiece theater.
Really?
And some historical documentaries, okay? They calm me down. They're very soothing. Mm. But whenever there's a royal kind of storyline or a royal character, I'm always trying to remember, because I don't really care enough about the royals, especially I don't care at all about the modern royals. I don't really care enough about them to retain any of that stuff, but I watch a lot of those documentaries because their lives were wild.
So wild.
There's drama and intrigue and soap opera-ness, and it's always narrated by the most soothing British voice. So it's just the perfect 10 p.m. thing to watch when you're on your way to bed. So I was like, did I know this about King James? What do I know about King James? I know about the Bible translation. I know that he did that. I know that he was a young king, but didn't take the throne. And then I was like, but he literally had 8 kids. Mm. And I always think about are the monarchs that we think were possibly more than likely homosexual have they do the one heir. They get in, they do the business, and then they're done.
But he could also be
he could have been bisexual. Yeah. And there, I think too, at that time it was much more fluid, just because those sexes were so separated, you weren't going to parties with like women. They had to be locked up and brought out on no, literally in those times, if you go to Versailles, there were literally there was the bed and there was an audience because watched them make the air, which is the most awkward shit in the world. So you're not, that's not something you're wanting to do all the time.
No.
Yeah, so that was like another reason, like it kind of like distracted me from what was actually going on in the episode because I was on Wikipedia. But I did love that, and I love that. So what Nicole had said about...
I mean, this week especially, it is of an important note because, you know, I don't do sports ball, but I have enough context that a basketball player was,
let's
I
not
guess,
go there.
Well, but that's why she brought it up. But that's why she brought it up. You know, was outed as having had relations with a trans woman. And so Nicole's tweet was, it's very important that men, but especially black men, aren't fazed when a gay person comes onto them. And it's like, Ryan just didn't react in the way that, like, oh, that's gay, or like any kind of, you know, negative way. He was just like, okay, cool. This is weird, honestly, but like, it wasn't
the first time his face was exactly the same as when Yaz's sister hit on him. When he's just like...
It was just like a normal, you know, interaction. He wasn't disgusted by it or like turned... He didn't like be weird about it. And so like this week of all weeks is like important for...
He wasn't more turned off by it because it was the man.
Right. So it's just like important representation for how normal that could be. It's just like... all right, you could just be like, nah, I'm cool, and move on.
I also just like the fact that Ryan was, like, cautiously, like, flattered. He was flattered, but also, like, this dude is extra. Like, you know what I
think, too, is, like, we're literally hunting, like, mud zombies, and you out here, like, coming on to me, and I just feel like, why we don't have the time for this? Like, there are witches, sir. Your Highness.
Your Highness.
Focus on why you're here. First of all, I also think it's hilarious too. Bringing it back to like, and also again, this is the second, like going back to the other witches Doctor Who episode, and Shakespeare like flirting with Martha and like, oh, you should come with me, and she's like, can't, and like the same thing happens with Ryan and King James, where he's like, you should come back with me to England, and he's like, well, kind of have stuff to do, you know.
Plans.
Yeah, I got things, you know. I have a job. In that box.
Paid for this job, but you know, whatever.
It's there. I have places to go, people to see. So I liked that, and it like Nicole was saying, like it definitely helped to normalize it, but it also contributed to the silly. Because I also think it wouldn't have mattered what the gender of like what Ryan's gender or even King James's gender, like if it had been a heterosexual pairing, it still would have been as ridiculous.
Right. Like, this is
especially it's like the king or queen of whatever. And it's just like, leave for what? Like,
you're here to hunt witches. Like, what are you doing? Like, just the, like, disconnect. Like, there's, like, some mean compartmentalization happening. And it's just a lot going on. And it's funny.
And then we have, like, Becca's 53%er.
53%
like,
of the 1600s. I just... lady.
on 10,000, like... First off, blaming everyone for her mistake. And secondly, her mistake being, like, the tree was blocking her view. And that shot is, like, nothing but view and one tree.
Just one tree.
Actually, I think the tree was blocking the sun. And, like, why would you want the sun in your eyes like that? It was doing you a favor. Like, girl, calm down. How are you going to go and chop down a whole tree? A sacred tree that your family... girl... You need to chill. Like, first of all, being an agent of the patriarchy and, like, drowning dozens of women.
Well, also, she got married and then left her, like, fam behind. She, like, married up. Was what Willow was like, she married up and then she act like she ain't know nobody no more.
Mm-hmm.
So that started.
Forgot where she came from.
She forgot where she came from. And then out here forgetting where she came from, gonna cut down her, like, grandma's favorite tree. But more... importantly, like, bitch, there was there was nothing but view.
Just like, come on.
And go for a walk. You ain't got no TV. Like, the window is TV.
What are you going to do?
If it's blocking your view, go outside and walk around it.
Walk around and sit in front of it.
Sit in front of it. What are you talking about? Ma'am.
drowning dozens of people, and that's why she, you know, that 53% of, like, going against your best interest, because now here you are, infiltrated by Satan, trying to kill people, trying to kill people so that nobody catches you in bed with Satan, filled with
actual Satan. I mean, not actual Satan, but, you know.
Alien Satan.
Alien Satan.
And not the Satan from the Satan pit. Two different Satans.
Mm-hmm.
She out here just, like, being reckless and wild and...
just out of pocket.
So out of pocket.
And blaming everybody else.
But again, like, this episode was very much not about the Morax. Like, they were introduced in the third act, and everybody's like, who? And I'm like, okay, I guess that's who we're fighting.
I guess we're fighting aliens now.
Like, oh, well, great, cool. And, like, a move, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't, like, the bad guy was Becca and King James. Because even as silly as he was, like, he was on some bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, like, still kind of thinking about, like, it's the kind of overlying theme of this season is just, like...
humans are the bad guys, which, considering our world...
Yeah,
yep.
Sounds about right.
Sounds about right.
Very randomly, I was so distracted this entire episode by the fact that they're in 1600s whatever land, and Ryan's like, all right, so it's a bit nippy out there, so I'm just gonna go back and get this puffy coat. And, like, poor Riaz is wearing, like, a denim jacket. Ryan said, no, it's cold.
Right. I don't know.
You don't mess with that, bro. He's like,
I'm going to be warm. I imagine they stopped the TARDIS.
I don't know about y'all.
And they were going to go to this coronation, and the 13 was just like, let's put on our best fits. And then they went outside, and Ryan was just like, hold up. It's only like 20 degrees outside. And he was like, I'll be right back. And he went inside and got himself a puffy coat. And didn't care, not once, that he was a black man in 1600s Europe.
It's important. I mean, I will say that, like, given the number of, like, Victorian outfits that we had to look at
right
in the last 5 to 6 to 7 years, like, and I mean, like, it's cool. It's just not the only fashion in the world. Like, it's nice to see them be like, whatever, I'm wearing what I want.
Yeah.
They don't even know where they're landing anyway, so.
I was also thinking about that because no one really comments on it, and, like, that's one of the things about
part is a little
Doctor Who that I can't stand is that, I mean, it's a new showrunner, so it's not, you know, their fault, but, I mean, I would like some series continuity. It's like sometimes they comment on their clothes not being out of place, and sometimes they don't.
And sometimes they change, and sometimes they don't. Like, this crew actually hasn't gotten dressed up in period gear yet, and I would like that for Ryan reasons.
Where are we going? We going to Pompeii?
I would love us
come out. Is he going to be a gladiator, or are we going to go?
I'm saying, I was like, I would love us to go somewhere where shirts
were optional.
I'm just,
and
you know,
cloths were like the fashion of the day.
Like, reminder that the actor was born in 1992. So, like, you know, you don't have to feel a way about it.
Just chest and legs.
Just
shoulder and back.
I'm just saying.
Little arm actions.
It's a suggestion. Take it or leave it.
With the
just putting it out in the universe.
Right. With the release of Creed 2, I have been really, like...
We aren't even in Ryan Ranch,
cleavage.
I mean, we can go there if you want to go.
And the back and, like, the sculpting, you know, it's just very...
It is something that, you know, research purposes.
Right.
Absolutely. Just accuracy to the period.
Exactly.
Right. To learn.
Because what's he going to do if he ends up being a gladiator and he has on his, like, regular-ass jeans and a shirt? That just doesn't seem right.
Yeah, it's just not practical. But shout out to Amanda Prescott at Amanda R. Prescott on Twitter, who was recommending The Black Tudors by Miranda Kaufman to sort of explain why Ryan's presence as a black person wasn't quite as gasp as it could have been. This episode didn't quite dismiss his presence as much as Shakespeare Code. But I don't know, maybe they were playing a little too, I don't know, I just need to read this book, clearly, to find out how I feel about it, to find out the facts, because, obviously, black people have existed nearly everywhere.
I mean, they should do an episode about that.
You know? That would be
well.
wonderful.
I think what was said was because the paperwork line was ridiculous on its face, but because he said he was there for paperwork, was that like she was saying that Black people in that era were around, but they were not slaves, but they were always like in domestic roles or ballets or things like that. So it wasn't strange to see him there. It was also like, it kind of also lent credibility to the doctor. I am the witch, like I am a person of high rank because I can afford to have like a team of servants or whatever. I think that was what I got from
Yeah.
That makes sense. Also,
and then Arthur C. Clarke. Sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
It's true.
We got that at the end of this episode.
That's how I feel about the internet. It's just
how I feel about planes.
We got a new Doctor in the Rain gif, and I tweeted that, and then the BBC account tweeted it back at me, and then I tweeted 10 in the rain back at them, and that was the end of that. But there's a new Doctor looking moodily in the rain.
She looks much more disappointed. She doesn't look mad, just disappointed.
She's not, like, crying sad. She's just like, how dare you.
She's just like humans.
It's kind of fierce.
Yeah. She's just like humans. Gross. All this time I spent defending you, and you just be trash all of a sudden.
Doing the same shit.
My God. Yeah, because, she hasn't noticed. She's just a white man running around. She's like, this is great. And now she's like, wow, maybe I saved the wrong people. Our Nubian prince. Ryan. King James is now a member of the Ryan Appreciation Society,
Clearly.
so, like, that's cool.
He also stands Ryan.
He does.
I mean, the thing is that, like, he has a lot of flaws, but we can tell, like, his sense of King James has a lot of flaws.
So where are his flaws? I haven't seen any.
He has a lot of flaws and a lot of faults, King James, but his taste is not one of them.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So,
I just really loved. So Ryan, bless his heart. Bless his heart. He really tried to connect with King James. He was just like, wow, your mom died when you were little? My mom died when I was little. And my nan just died, and my dad hasn't been around. And King James was like, so my mama died, my daddy died, my protector died, this other guy died, and then I almost died, and then I almost died again. Then they tried to kill me, and then I said, ooh, let's do a war. And Ryan was just like, how do I...
Like, he literally starts to laugh, and then he's like, oh, wait, my bad. My fault. Just kidding.
Oh, you were serious. Oh.
The thing I do love about that, too, is that, like, King James was literally like, hold my mead, and listed it all. Just like, not like, oh yeah, my mom and dad died. Like, my mom tried to kill my dad, and then she died, and then, but he was like, and then this, and then this, and then this, and then yesterday.
That scroll gift from SpongeBob, just like, there we go.
And Ryan is like, wow, that's crazy.
That's literally how he reacted.
What a time.
That was just the most static kind of reaction. He laughed, and then he kind of went too far back in the other direction of, like, no emotion, of just like, wow, cold world. Really sucks. So sorry. And then it kind of, like, mimicked his reaction later when King James was like, so you wanna come with me? And he's just like, so about that, ooh. Because I think is that the moment he laughs again, right? And then he's just like, oh, you were serious. Oh. So about that, no.
This is not going to be able to work out this time. Perhaps.
Maybe next time.
I'm not saying never. Not right now.
But also, it's just not a good time for me, right? Like, in another circumstance.
It's not you. It's me.
It's just, I wish that, like, we could make this work, but, I'm not the person. I'm not looking for a long-term stay in the past relationship.
Yeah. Stay in the...
Call me crazy. I just want to, like, go back to my own time.
A long distance by time.
Yeah. Like, I don't think it's going to work out.
I can't stay in the past in the, like, 1600s England, at the height of your colonial powers.
And you be out here, like, beheading dudes. Didn't you just say, like, you killed your mom or some shit? Like, let's not.
I can't.
At this point in my life, I just feel really connected to, like, indoor plumbing and hygiene. And,
pace. is a thing, is important.
Yeah. Yeah. These are all major key. And Ryan just knows his place in the world, and it's not 1616.
Ooh, could you imagine like, you have to be somebody, some type of somebody to make me be like, yeah, 1600s? I'll stay.
It's funny because we always are like, more black people in time travel, and then we always remember, oh wait, hard. But I'm thinking of like Outlander, and like the idea, like that's what this idea would be, is like like having a black person from the present fall in love with a white person from the past. Like Outlander just couldn't be a thing for us.
No.
Or it's just like, oh, let me go back and see my love in the 1600s in Europe. I don't
You have to come to me.
I don't think
but I
so.
feel like even beyond race, I just feel like that couldn't be a thing for, like, just, do you know how important indoor plumbing is?
So
like the first time you're like, I'm going to see my love, and then like, oh love, I really have to go to the bathroom, and they give you a bucket, and they're like, and then you're like, what?
How?
No central air.
No central air.
No
like,
heat. No nap pods. Are you kidding me?
No standing desks.
No standing desks.
And
no,
I just
no owl cafes.
No delivery. No DoorDash. That's crazy.
So crazy.
Couldn't be me.
It's just a fascinating time travel trope that it'd be. I'm fascinated to see how it actually could work with people of color. But
like
only
Ryan
with people
and Team
of color
James,
to other people of color. Maybe not people of color to white people.
Or like, a king. It's just not gonna happen. It just can't work out.
It's not
too many differences. Their time. It's the wrong time, and wrong place, wrong time. All that, literally. So it's cool. They'll have the memories. They'll always have the memories. Yeah. Also, Ryan's reactions, as always, are the best. Anytime he's like, and I think it's just like it's hilarious because I'm like, how many times? Like at this point, it's one of those things that reminds you that like even though they're traveling in time, like they haven't seen it all. So there's always a get out of the TARDIS, and there's always a weird ass thing happening. And Ryan is like, I know I've seen a lot of weird ass shit at this point, but like, what the fuck?
And the thing that's like really great about Ryan's reactions too is like at a certain point, I'm thinking a lot of like Amy and Clara, they were at least trying to put on like, oh, been there, done that, not fazed by anything anymore, and he's still just like, what?
Yeah, and like after he does that, then he'll like be like, okay, I'm with you, but first he has to be like,
I need to react first. I need to first like take it in.
Yeah. Quotes from the TARDIS.
Speaking of Ryan, taking it in, I just really loved Ye Olde Hipster Pop-Up because they just weren't ready for apple bobbing. They were expecting a coronation, and it was a Ye Olde Hipster Pop-Up. And I loves apple bobbing. So
I loved. Speaking of reactions, her reaction to the apple bobbing was amazing. She was like, yeah, I think we're in the right apple bobbing.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know where we at, but here's some apples in the tub. Where I'm supposed to be.
Are obviously where we were meant to be. Mm-hmm. This was meant to be.
Not to kill her, but to fill her. Ooh, check out my rhymes. Poetry under pressure. It's like...
just too many.
Now's not the time.
Like, the doctor got bars, but also, I just need the word fill.
Yeah, it was quite a bit, but I do like that. Like, and this has happened often. I just love how this doctor, like, in the middle of things being like super under pressure, she like will take a moment to like recognize her own corniness, and like she's like, "This is brilliant." She's like, "Look at what I just did. That was great." Okay, sorry. Back to like the things that matter.
Right, or like last episode, I've already lost track of the time. When she was just like, layers, and then she's like, no, that didn't quite work.
Yeah. I won't be saying laters anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, if I were still a bloke, I could get the job done and not waste time defending myself.
Welcome. Welcome, 13.
It's a word.
Just welcome. Just
yeah. And imagine if you were a person of color on top of that.
Is wasted. So much time is wasted.
So much time defending yourself, explaining yourself,
repeating yourself,
advocating that the thing that the white dude just said that you said 5 minutes earlier was actually a thing that you said 5 minutes earlier.
Advocating for other people who are in your same position,
defending other people,
and again, twice as much when you're a person of color, a woman of color. So, whew.
A word.
You can't go on hurting people just because you're afraid to face the darkness inside you. And, I just wish many people understood and knew that. And it starts at the top and works its way down. And I just wish a lot of people felt that inside.
Along the same lines, I can show you everything if you stop being afraid of what you don't understand.
Woo!
There's just a lot of
Doctor had some serious bars this
so many bars, like so many bars.
Including killer to filler,
Oh boy.
Including that. All right.
All of that to say, check out blackgirlscreate.org. You can follow us on social media. Follow us on Twitter at WeBlackandNerds, at Yana_Hollows, at Robin_Ravenclaw, and at Constar24. Please use the hashtag Tarbis to talk to us about Doctor Who when you're watching Doctor Who, or if you want to make more Doctor Who friends that are people of color, because that's happened, and I'm like, yes, keep using the tag for those reasons. Thank you. That's what we made it for.
It's awesome. It's the best.
It fills their puff hearts.
You're just like, no.
I'm just confused why people want to actually see each other in person.
Robin, yeah.
So if you don't want to see each other in person,
use the Tarbis hashtag and talk to each other on the internet. Why y'all gotta be going out into the world? That seems stupid.
But you can also join our Slack, where we have a channel dedicated to conversations about Doctor Who and all sorts of other channels. And so if you don't want to meet people in person, Robin, you can join our Slack and meet us online and then grow to meet us in person. Robin acts like she hasn't met people in person from the internet.
You can talk to people while on your couch. True. And I just feel like that's the closest we've gotten to world peace. And I don't understand why we keep trying to
another way.
Yes. Speaking of going on hurting people just because you're afraid to face the darkness inside of you, speaking of things that we learned this week, stop being afraid of what you don't understand. Please, please, please text Congress to 50409 if you're in America. And
you know why.
And advocate.
You know why.
Because we've learned that demonizing people who you're afraid of is only a reflection of the evil within yourself. Mm-hmm. Because why are we gassing children?
Literally.
Why are we acting as though the people trying to come into this country are not coming here because of things that we have actively taken part of and have actively, participated in their situations in their homes. And because we're humans and it's just the right thing to do. And because this asshole is doing this shit in our name.
Yeah.
And every time you see children being gassed and terrified and afraid and being torn away from their parents, just know that that's happening under your name. And not speaking out is accepting that is okay. And it's not okay.
The doctor wouldn't want that.
Nope.
And rate and review us on iTunes.
When you're done texting Congress, just pop open that iTunes app and say nice things about us as a balancing act for the
two birds, one stone,
and the upset, and then do something that makes you feel good, which is support your girls.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Tarbis is a part of Hard Knock Media. We are a part of the Nerds of Color podcast network, including the podcast Hard Knock Life, Southern Fried Asian, DC TV Classics, Ask By It Girls, Desi Geek Girls, We're Not All Ninjas in That Moment. You can check out all of these podcasts at hardnocmedia.com.
Thank you for listening. You can join us next week when we discuss episode 9, It Takes You Away.
seems kind of scary.
Yeah, I don't know why I had to whisper that, but it just felt like...
No. I mean, like, just read it. Like, the preview seems like it's going to be creepy. And definitely not fun like this one was. No.
And it was, like, a very brief one, and it just seemed like the doctor was being transported away, so...
It's a problem.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys. See you next week.
Bye.
The black girls have the box.